The decrease in crime has not gone unnoticed by Stuart Brownlee, the NDC-funded victim support worker.
We have seen a decrease in crime, a definite decrease in crime, which is a good thing for the area. I mean, the idea behind the NDC was to reduce crime, and that's what they've done. So that is a success story in itself.
Are these figures not hidden away somewhere? Is there a catch here? Or have you really seen on the streets and from what's coming into your office a difference?
Definitely, most definitely. Certainly with it, like we'll talk about burglary dwellings, there's certainly a reduction in burglary dwellings. The only thing that I would say that hasn't reduced is violent crime. I tend to work with more violent crime victims, and I'm probably working with slightly more of those now when I first started with victim support. We have like a drop-in session at the office, so anybody can walk in and see us off the street, and generally it's about violent crime, why they want to come and see us. They've been a victim of some domestic violence or some street violence or robbery. Those crimes seem to be level or a little bit increased, but certainly apart from that, I would think there is a big decrease in criminal damage type offences, burglary offences. There's an increase in drug type offences, but that's only because the police activity is increased in drug offences. They're doing more arrest warrants, more houses are being searched, and like the knock-on effects of more houses get searched, more crimes get recorded.
Concern anybody. What I'm thinking is, if we go down, have a check in the shed, if we can smell cannabis in the
team
shed.
Responsible for many of these drug searches is the Tactical Tasking Unit. With funding provided by NDC, the team take a very proactive approach to policing by taking the fight to the criminal, as Geordie McKell explains.
I mean, it was basically Mr. Gamble, one of the superintendents, he decided that he wanted this team, and Mr. Sanderson, the district commander now, they wanted a team that put the criminals on their back foot. So that it was like, yeah, as opposed to members of the public being in fear of somebody coming through their front door and taking their property, they wanted a team that criminals were afraid of, and that they had a capability that the police could come through their front door at any particular minute. And to be fair, that's a lot what the team does. If you go into a primary school and you ask a 6-year-old what police officers do, go home, ask your daughter, what do cops do? Oh, they lock baddies up. What else do cops do? Smash in doors, get stolen property back. That's our team in a nutshell.
Acting on intelligence and armed with a warrant, the team gains entry to a house suspected of being a cannabis factory, where Geordie finds even more than he was expecting.
One of the officers has found a male upstairs in this room. One of the other officers has got some information that there's a further grow downstairs in the hall. Having a look behind it, there's a motorbike in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which is slightly unusual. Not many people keep their motorbikes upstairs in the bedrooms. And there's the cannabis grow in this bedroom. As you can see, it's ready for cropping. Male was in cropping it at the time, which is like, they take the buds off, dry the buds. That's what he was in the process of doing. So there's a fair amount. There's some information that there's a further 25 plants downstairs. So there will be arrests from this, and I should imagine there'll be a prosecution at some stage.
The Tactical Tasking Unit is resource heavy in terms of manpower, but the number of suspects apprehended has been impressive. I put the case for an increase in police numbers to Nick Whitehouse. If you asked the average man in the street what he would want, you can bet your bottom dollar that he'd say more bobbies on the beat.
Well, and I would agree to that to some extent, and I think what the NDC programme has allowed us to do is put more bobbies on the beat in the NDC area. There's been an increase in numbers working through our tutor unit. That's student officers working with experienced officers. So there are extra officers on the ground in the NDC area. But it's also about applying some of those additional resources that NDC have given us into technological areas. So, for example, the Smart Water programme, or the programme of putting up relocatable CCTV cameras in areas where we've been experiencing high rates of crime or antisocial behaviour. NDC has enabled us to do that as well. So it's not just about the increased presence of uniformed police officers on the street. It really is about different strands to the NDC programme, which have all brought together, I believe, the reductions in crime that we're now seeing.
There's been a sharp decline in thefts from cars in the last few years, due in no small part to the use of property marking product Smart Water. South Yorkshire Police use a number of trap vehicles. Let's see one in action. Oh, what have we got here? Oh yeah, there seems to be a few things worth nicking in this car. There's a sat nav, there's a phone. But first of all, I think I'll have the stereo. So, Kevin, I've just foolishly tried to nick the stereo system from that car, and I believe I've been covered in smart water. What happens now?
Right, we will recover the vehicle. We'll examine the footage from the hidden cameras within inside the vehicle, which will hopefully identify the offenders. Then a search team is then sent out to arrest the offender. He's brought back to the police station, where he's subjected to ultraviolet light in the airlock. That will prove the presence of smart water. And then we take swabs in order to analyse it, and it confirms it actually came from that particular vehicle.
Can we go and do that now?
Yes.
Right, great.
You can clearly see the smart water spray pan on the coat and on your face and in the hair. Now you'll be taken into custody, where scenes of crime will obtain samples of the smart water and send it off for analysis. Every prisoner that comes into custody is then given a leaflet explaining to him what smart water is and how it can be used to identify property and identify him to the scene of a crime. His personal items are then checked for the presence of smart water, i.e. jewellery, watches and mobile phones, etc. He's then taken to the custody area where he's booked in, and I'll show you one of the cells where the prisoners are kept.
You've got the smart water signs all over the cell. It's obviously very important, isn't it, to let the criminals know about it?
It is. The psychology behind the project is that we tell the criminal what smart water is and how it can lead to their apprehension. So we need them to know in order for it to be a deterrent. Smart water is not just about actually detecting the crime, but actually preventing it in the first place. Hence the importance of the signs and the stickers when you've got smart water in your premises.
NDC has also funded the purchase and delivery of 2,000 smart water kits to NDC resident homes and 300 to NDC businesses. The unique chemical code within smart water has proved to be a real deterrent to thieves. NDC has also funded new CCTV technology used by the police. So how do these differ from your normal static CCTV camera?
These CCTV cameras are a deployable CCTV. They can be used anywhere throughout the district in remote locations to tackle such problems as antisocial behaviour, drug dealing and car theft in places other than the town centre. We can zoom in on a particular individual or a particular event that's happening. Yep. It might be a drug deal that's going down. We can actually zoom in right up to and see the deal taking place. They're recording to a hard drive built within the camera. That's then downloaded to this control box by a wireless link, and then it's downloaded onto a laptop and onto a DVD for evidential purposes.
Clever. These relocatable cameras have proved a great success, and the static ones at Borby Bridge have helped to reduce antisocial behaviour considerably. The cameras have proved very popular with the local residents and are monitored by both the council and the police. They play an important role in making people feel safer in their own neighbourhoods and providing evidence and intelligence for the Safer Neighbourhood team. But if crime is being reduced in NDC areas, isn't the crime being displaced, simply going elsewhere?
What I would say is that there is no evidence to suggest that there's been any displacement to crime or otherwise. And of course, we don't always work distinctly to those barriers. You know, if we're working in an NDC area, predominantly the focus will be in those areas. But if there is then connected criminality, for example, just outside that area, we won't just ignore it. You know, we're here to police Doncaster, and NDC and the area within NDC is a prime focus. And if we want to be successful in Doncaster, we've got to tackle the issues within NDC. But, you know, criminals cross borders and cross boundaries. And so for us, if we have to cross over that road to execute that warrant or to arrest that individual, then we will do that. And I think that we have such a relationship with NDC that they understand that. You know, policing is not about lines on maps. You know, it's about providing a quality of service to all communities and being positive about what you want to deliver.
NDCs are targeted quite specifically to improve the overall regeneration of a geographical area. And yes, we are expected to invest that money wisely in that geographical area, and our job is very simple. We have to improve the statistical performance of residents, crime, educational attainment, health, hygiene, happiness, well-being in that area. That's my preoccupation. And as long as I'm happy that things are improving in that area, actually I'm doing my job. But I wouldn't be doing my job entirely if I wasn't a little sensitive. And my board, of course, is sensitive to the issue of displacement. But statistically, again, interestingly, and remember we're one of 39 NDCs, statistically there seems to be evidence that the area around NDCs within 2 or 3 miles also benefit from reduction in crime. So it's not so much that if there is a displacement, it's slightly over the boundary. If there is a displacement, it seems to be leaving the NDC area almost entirely and moving somewhere else. Whether there's displacement or not, our success rates in capturing, the police service anyway, in capturing suspects and dealing with them appropriately is a pretty big deterrent. So some of those will not offend again. I suspect there is some issue of displacement because, after all, if an area is smart watered and there's a neighbourhood watch and it's clear that the police service is stepping up its beat, then they're going to move somewhere else to commit their crimes, aren't they? So perhaps there is some displacement. My job is about focusing on my area, and I'm absolutely delighted and content that statistically this is an area where things are getting better.